Mark Cutler. I'm chairman of our Greater Hartford SCORE chapter. There are about 60 of us over the whole state, around 400 in the country, about 12,000. We all volunteer our time to provide service, mentoring, we call it. We're not the doers, we're the people by your side that are mentoring you through the process. And we're going to talk a little bit about what SCORE does at the very beginning of this. We're going to talk, by the way, tonight's the first Red Sox game, and we've heard from 5 people who signed up to come weeks ago and aren't coming because they're Red Sox fans. I happen to be a Red Sox fan myself, and there's a little video going here. The game starts at 8 o'clock, so if I seem distracted to you, that's the reason why. We're going to talk about what SCORE does on a value-added basis for you. We're going to talk about a couple of business cases. Interesting on the landscape lighting example. There's actually one in here as a business case model. And we didn't even know you're in the field. Not a local company. We talk about marketing plan, what's called a unique sales proposition, USP, strategies and tactics to grow a business. And we won't get into the financial plan and funding based upon what I've heard today. Although, could you reintroduce yourselves again? I didn't hear your business model real careful.
Ours?
Yes, please.
We're mostly here to learn the camera, but it's all part of promoting a new business that we're starting. We're basically creating a website that connects private individuals that own sports gear that aren't using it at a particular time with people looking to rent. So if you had a bicycle sitting in your basement maybe during your week when you're at a job, somebody coming to Connecticut on vacation looking to rent, you can go on the site and you can make some extra money, and it helps get people outdoors.
Based upon the input from what we've heard, we're going to be moving around in what we're going to cover today, because I think a lot of the value added that we'll have has to do with assessing business models and new product ideas, and we will get to that. The business cases that we may get to, I will go over one quick one now. The massage therapist in a crowded marketplace. It's my favorite example of a lady, and keep in mind that I would say 60% of the people are coming to us for advice on whether their business model makes sense. They're thinking about starting up. Help us through this. This particular woman came to us in one of our chambers, to me, along with my partner. She had just spent $30,000 getting her certification as a massage therapist. She was living in a rather wealthy Connecticut town, and now that she had her certification, she was ready to start. She had a young child, and she had the need to be working out of her home most of the time. And so she's ready, and she came in and said, okay, how do I get started? What do I do? And my first question was, have you looked at what's out there in the marketplace today? And she had not looked at that, and we Googled massage therapists in this town, and how many massage therapists came up? 75. And this is after the money is spent. And so what we hope to be able to do for startups is to review the key elements of it before money is spent in the example of the massage therapist. So we have 20 counseling locations, which Simsbury Library is one of them. There are 60 entrepreneurs that offer free and confidential services to small business. And we work 80% of our time one-on-one. 2 partners, Joe and I partner together, Barry and I partner together, Barry and I in West Hartford, Joe and I in South Windsor. And we are seeing clients 6 hours a day. Sometimes we're meeting people 5 days a week in various locations. And if you're Simsbury based and you want to meet with a SCORE mentor, you can sign up on the website of Simsbury Library and actually book your appointment at a time that makes sense for you. to become a client, you fill in an application. We won't do that tonight, but basically what the application does is it establishes a confidentiality arrangement between ourselves so that what we learn about your business we can't use, and you can feel comfortable telling us just about anything. We do a lot of career planning when we're talking. So when you're validating, and I'm listening to an event planner, a party planner, an accounting person, finance, and we're going to use yourself as an example when we get to the business model, that it's key to understand who is the end consumer, what is my skill set, what is my unique skill set, and then try to put a market plan together. The Greater Hartford chapter goes from New Britain up to Vernon into the north east part of the state, down to the Middlesex Chamber, which is in Middletown. The way the process works, the mentoring process, the very first session has to do with an assessment, what we call a basic assessment of what you're trying to do. We then move through a business planning process, which includes marketing plan, financial projections, and figuring out about funding. This all results in, it sounds time consuming, but it can be done in a very short time. So when we're looking at sports video, and the capital equipment needed is $50,000, and the individuals don't have any equity in their home, don't have any money to put down, we would very early on flag that financing will be a problem. And so all of these things, not only the business model, but funding is important. And the tagline of SCORE is for the life of your business. Joe and I and Barry are working with people for 4 years, from startup till one of our clients has gone from startup to $300,000 in sales in 2.5 years. She owes it all to us. No, she owes it all to hard work. My favorite 5 slides are quoting Winston Churchill. He used to say, if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. And I think so many of us start off on a journey and we don't really know where we're going. And I was using an example of a client who has a $4 million business. And I told him, I feel like you got in a taxi to go to New Orleans and you ended up in Chicago and you don't have any clothes, any winter clothes, and it's snowing out. Too many people are just going day by day without knowing where they're going. We talk about tools to manage the business, and there really isn't anything magic. We need to figure out where you are today and where you want to be, develop a plan, implement metrics to manage your business, monitor performance against your plan, and then take corrective action. It really is that simple. I go back to this, if we don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. I want to just break here and pull up. So, oops. I wanna. Would you mind if we use you as an example? Okay. So give us your background again.
I have a finance and administration background.
Right. And your concept is to provide services to the elderly
Primarily to the elderly.
that they can't do themselves.
Right, that they're finding difficult to do in order to enable them to remain independent longer.
Right. Is that clear? Okay. We talk about, and I want to use you as an example, the development of a core concept. In what you described, there are product ideas down the left-hand side of this chart. It could be you're doing accounting. It could be that you're doing shopping, cost benefit, helping them through decisions. And this big package of concepts which you're thinking of are geared towards a core idea, which is what? You don't answer. What would your answer be to that question? What is your first name?
Jennifer.
What's Jennifer's core idea?
She wants to provide a service.
To whom?
Elderly.
Why?
Have them remain independent as long as they can.
Exactly. So if that's the core idea, what do? You start with that and you work backwards, right? And what should be driving that? What should be driving that core idea? Who's going to pay for it?
Family.
And so what drives the products that they want is the consumer, right? It's the family, or it's the elder person, whoever that might be. And so if you start off with that core idea, and you started with some various concepts of product ideas, you end up with a consistent umbrella of what you could offer. And once you are there, you can establish many aspects of that. I want to use lighting as an example too, because why don't you tell us what your business is like today, who your customers are?
I've been doing it for a couple of years. Primarily our lighting contractors and electrical contractors and our customers, some builders. I market out to landscape architects primarily, is how I develop leads or contacts through that business.
So let me stop you. What's your first name again?
Ted.
What's Ted's core idea? What's his core concept?
To be a wholesaler for landscape lighting.
Somebody else answer that question. How would you answer that question?
Me?
Hmm.
Oh, I basically was the same idea as her, but I guess he's looking for a niche in landscaping, something beyond just, or bring it up another level.
And Joe's our marketing guy. What would you say from what you've heard? What would your advice be if Ted were starting up today?
Well, you have a broad market because you said lighting. Lighting is...
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So I would, if I would look, since you've been in business 2 years, I would look at my results and see which segment of the business has brought me in the most revenue. And play to the strengths. Let's not reinvent the wheel. It's nice we can branch out to other areas of lighting, but since you've been there and you basically identified, for argument's sake, landscape, architects, but you also said builders, and then I'm wondering if there's any direct sales to the homeowner. I don't know.
Joe hit it. For me, I would say my umbrella is lighting, and then I would be driven by unmet consumer demand, or something that you could do. You could offer a unique proposition to consumers, and there are tons of ideas that I would have, but one would not even start that concept thinking unless you looked at yourself as an expert in the field of lighting instead of focusing on landscaping. Let's use the party planner. Let's talk about tell me product ideas on the left-hand side. What are you thinking that you could offer your consumer?
Well, a lot of it would be convenience, ease, but the actual product that I'd be offering is it's kind of a rental thing basically, because I would be offering them set place settings, full place setting, table settings, if they needed to contract with catering and anything that they need, anything they need to have this function, whatever it is they plan to do within their home for the most part, successful and different, unique, and something special.
So may I ask you again to give some feedback to that? What's the core idea? How do you, Ted,
To me?
what do you see the core idea?
It's basically a planning and execution function of a social event.
Of an event, yes.
Yes.
And so what would you call that person?
Uh,
Huh?
Coordinator.
Event planner, yeah. And, ooh, you know what Obama would do if you were in his room right now? Huh? We see an awful lot of individuals who have core competencies in an area, cooking, baking, able to orchestrate events, flowers. These people themselves are the admin. They're the organizers, right? They're not the doers. They have a field of suppliers available to them that they can call upon to bake, to cook, to wait on. And if you were to Google event planner and focus it even more into bar mitzvahs or weddings, you would see there's a lot of people that are in this core idea of event planning. And the concept would be, I mean, it sounds like you're a good organizer and an admin person and have good contacts. The idea would be to do what we did with the therapist, the massage therapist, is just to see, Google some of your keywords, see who's out there and what they're doing.
But actually what you're getting at is not what I plan to do. It's really not event planning. I'm the one providing. I don't have vendors that I'm contacting, and I'm not doing the whole scheme of an event. I'm basically going in and setting the table. I'm really just making it convenient for them. It's more of a concierge type thing, where I'm providing a service that they don't have to. For example, if they want to do a themed meal, they want it to be an Asian themed meal, I would have the place settings for Asian theme. I would have the table linens for such a thing, that kind of thing, and it would be on a rental basis.
So in that case, what I think I would do is to confirm there's demand for that.
Right.
We have bring together 2 or 3 consumers of what you've just described, just friends, and go over what your concept is and see if you see some demand that could be focused on one part of it or another. What you're describing to me, I'm not sure I understand the demand. Joe or Barry, do you have any comments? But if the core idea were more general, more organizing, I can tell you there's huge demand for that. And there's no capital equipment needed. It's only time and investment that you need. And people are looking for someone they can trust. They don't want to deal with 10 people. They want to deal with one. And it doesn't have to stop at just setting the table. It can be much more. Because they don't want to just do a piece at a time. Barry?
I'm just going to go back to a client that I have that is in the kind of a concierge environment, and talked about all the various things that she was capable of doing, when in reality what she's really selling is her time and saving them time so that they don't have to do it. So the concept wasn't just the one idea where I can go in and help you set the table. I can save you a lot of time and effort by doing all of these things. So we moved from one core concept to another one based on the fact that what she really is offering is saving time for her clients.
Joe is going to go into more detail on this later, but one of the key things for you is to say, what is it you're doing for your customer? What problem are you solving? And with everything that we do, it's driven by customer needs and unmet demand or demand that you could address uniquely. And one has to be able to articulate that very clearly. Our friends in the back of the room, if we go back to your core idea, how would you describe it? Core, I'm talking about now the umbrella that everything sits under.
the idea of the business is when you travel, one of two things arises when if you're an outdoor enthusiast and you need sports gear. For the people that mountain bike or kayak or surf, you can't bring it with you on a plane, so you get to your destination and you can't bring your own gear. And the second problem is a lot of the places you go to do those type of things are pretty remote, so to find a rental shop is sometimes impossible. So what we're trying to do is create a nationwide community of people who own gear that are willing to rent it out, make themselves some money in the process.
Individuals?
It's going to be both for individuals and businesses, yeah.
Why does it have to be for individuals?
It makes it a much larger marketplace, so,
No, I'm saying the inventory of equipment.
yeah.
Who's that market? Are they individuals or could they be companies? You're in Moab Valley in Utah.
Yeah.
And you've got a company that's renting bikes and kayaks. Couldn't they be one of your consumers?
Yes.
Part of your group?
Absolutely,
Yes.
sure,
Right.
yeah.
So we're not talking about a guy who's got a bike in his garage. We could be talking about much broader than that.
It's both, yep. Our site is set up that you can list as a business or an individual.
To me, that core idea works. You're about to take a trip to Washington, and you want to rent a bike. And there is 2 or 3 places that are doing that. And for them to be part of your environment as they're making sales because you brought them there, you're going to make a piece of that by just having a compelling website to draw people in. Bike riding, Washington. Barry will talk a little bit about how to bring people to that website. But once you brought them there, it's not the individual bike in the garage, it's companies, I think, that you want the inventory for.
If it is a company, it's additional exposure for them. It's like companies that sell on eBay. They have their own outlets, but they use eBay as another place to advertise on. So that's kind of our idea. But I think also having individuals opens up the market because there may not be a bike shop way out in the middle of nowhere, but a lot of private owners may have bikes that they're willing to rent out. And the incentive for them is if something's sitting in your garage collecting dust that you could make some money on, if your bike was not being used during the week and you could rent it out for $30, $40 a day, you could make a couple $100 during the week by really doing nothing. So it encourages individuals to, loan their gear out, make some money, and make gear more available for people that are looking for gear.
Can I ask you what your core competencies are? What are your skill sets as individuals?
I've actually got an MBA in marketing, really good with computers. I started out in engineering, so I'm a very good programmer and website design. So I've done a lot of the front end stuff myself, and I've got some programmers that have done the back end stuff, but those are probably my
So you
biggest
can
strengths.
create the environments we're talking about
Yeah.
without investing in third parties to do it?
A lot of it.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
And yourself?
My background's in Parks and Recreation. I actually work for the town of Southfield right now.
In which operation?
Parks and Recreation.
Hmm.
So it involves quite closely with our idea that we're doing, and as well as run a lot of different events as well.
Right. Now, when we have our one-on-ones, we would be challenging you on whether your business model, your core concept is an IT environment, a website environment that benefits suppliers across the country or in the state, has nothing to do with sports enthusiasts. It could be anything, and that depends on what you're bringing to the party, your core competency. And I would say the market gets broader if you do more things in there. If you're limiting yourself to people who are traveling and need what you've just described, it goes back to business problems that we're solving, and are they big enough to make it worth it? You understand?
Sure.
So, Barry, do you have any comment, any further comment on that?
We have several internet companies, and some have done phenomenally well. But again, it's got to be something that you can make money at.
I think from some perspectives, individuals that invest in something that's a nice quality product, whether it's a bike or whether it's a kayak or whether it's any kind of sports gear. It's kind of challenging for them to even think about somebody using their thing several times a week, because it is very personal, and most of those things are sensitive and need repair, especially things like motorbikes or little scooters or even mountain bikes and things like that. They take a lot of maintenance, you know. So if they put that kind of money into a high-end one or a close to high-end one, you probably would not get as many of those interested in actually allowing somebody even to ride it. And you can talk to fathers that won't even let their own children ride their bikes.
Yeah, no, those are definitely good points. But on the other hand, we've done some research, and there's actually a couple successful companies already. One is Spin Lister. They started in New York. They just do bikes. So there's definitely a market for that. And believe it or not, there's a company now that allows people to rent their own personal cars out when they're not using them, and that seems to be pretty successful too. So there's definitely, I'm sure, concerns from a lot of people, but there's also, a big enough market of people that are willing to do it.
If you get anything out of today, first you'll come in and meet with us one-on-one, but second, think a little bit outside the box on what your core competency is. The more broad you make it, the better chance for success. And is it about bikes and the like, or is it about an environment that people go to learn about? I don't know. If people do blogs on what you just described that are going to be attracting them there, and that has as much value as you hooking them up with the Washington Bike Company, who's going to give you, $1 every hour of the 20 that he's going to get.
Yeah.
You could be advertising on your site, advertising for them and getting money in return. That it's not just bike riding, but it's a tour of the city with such and such a company. Mm-hmm. So people who are going into Washington, whether it's outdoor enthusiasts or what, if that website were going to be broader, at least in your vision, I think you have a better chance of success. Okay. Would you like to give us some input on your dream?
Yes.
In Afrikaner, everybody is familiar with Afrikaner.
Yes. My name is Spiros. I had my own business in South Africa, which is far away from America, and I was involved in the manufacture of detergents and disinfectants, and I also worked as a sub-distributor for a previous employer of mine. So the reason why I've come here this evening is to look at business that I may have to go into in case I do not get employed in the formal market as a job seeker. So I have an idea that maybe I should get into selling cleaning agents, which is actually a B2 business. Mm-hmm. But I've been down that road, and it's a very arduous road. So, okay, one has to venture one's own capital and the risk. But hard work I know about, but just the environment is brand new to me. I've only been here 3 months, but one thinks ahead.
So I want to introduce us all to the thinking of skill set, core competencies. What do we do best? What are we bringing to each of the business? And then try to translate that into a demand in the marketplace. But start with what we do best. Joe and I have a client who had money to invest in a business, and he was looking at laundromats, and he's a bean counter. He's an accountant. He knows nothing about fixing machines. He knows nothing about the requirements, the engineering requirements that are really necessary there for a one-person show. And too many people go down a road without considering what they're good at and the value that they're adding to entrepreneurship. So the concept is to prepare even a basic business plan where you document your idea, you provide yourself a roadmap for the future, into pragmatic actions. In the case of our event planner, our party planner, our table setter, whatever we want to call this concept, I would say we're the very first step is to validate the concept through market research, even basic market research, to verify the demand. I keep looking at a bookkeeper, a check writer, someone, which I really think is, that one is low-hanging fruit for me. And the question there is, how do you get to the consumer? How do you reach the consumer? You're talking about onesies and twosies. It's a lot in an hour or two at a time. One has to really go backwards and say, what else could I do for that person besides just helping them reconcile the checkbook or pay their bills? We need to start with the customer needs, a market that we're talking about, competition, which encourage you all to Google keywords and what your concepts are, see what businesses come up, see what they're offering their customers and what you would do differently, and your own skills that you're bringing to the party, and those that you might need to fill the gap. The cycle that we talk about constantly is you come up with a plan, you execute your plan, you take a look at how you're going against that plan, and then you revise it, you take corrective actions. Always think that the customer is the king. Everything you do should be with that in mind. You don't come up with forcing demand. The demand is there, and basically you're trying to meet that demand. This chart shows that in the middle are sales. On the top, the customer is driving the sales by you fulfilling a need. You're starting at the bottom with here, my mouse isn't working, with your product or service, the benefits you can provide, that unique sales proposition that we talked about, and that becomes the sales. That funnel, think about that funnel. The end result is a consumer who's going to buy your product or service because it's better, it's unique, or they can't get it today. Joe?
I'm Joe Waxman, and with SCORE, and I'm going to go over your marketing plan and customers, who I compete with, etc. So to save some time, I'm just going to move ahead. In the section of your business plan, and I'm a big believer in business plans. When I was in corporate America, working for a publicly traded company, we did 3 to 4 business plans a year because we had to do them quarterly for our stakeholders. And the business plan is a living document. If you're a startup, your business plan is a host of assumptions. It's fictitious writing that you're hoping will come true. But you have to support what you say in the business plan, especially if you want to go out and get financing. So again, your demographics, your marketing, how are you going to drive to the client? Who is your market? And again, I'll use the professional, shall we say, table program. I think, based on what you've said, you've probably got a market extremely upscale. You've got to be into the wealthy communities, Simsbury, Avon, Farmington, West Hartford, Greenwich, people with disposable income that would do that. And aside from your friends, how are you going to get them? So your marketing, you got to know your industry, your segment. How do you plan to meet the demand? If there is demand, what's the barriers to entry? How barriers to that entry might be after you do your research, too limited of the market. I don't know at this point. And how do you plan to market and sell? Oops. All right, identifying target markets. Your key demographics, again, using Jenna here at the library, there is all kinds of, well, what is it, to get the lists and to
Reference USA.
Reference USA. You can go into companies and you can find out, you put it in and you can download up to 100 at a time. All you need is your flash drive. It's not going to cost you anything. They have Business Plan Pro here in the library, whereby that's the #1 software in North America for the development of business plans. Again, it's free here. Normally you'd have to buy it.
Go to the next slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, there's Jenna. Ta-da! All right, and they got, this happens to be an outstanding reference library for business. There's all kinds of help here through Jenna. And again, we at SCORE send a lot of people here when they have to do
From all over the
research.
state.
From all over. And the reason for that is because research to buy lists and to develop your own business plan takes time, and if there's tools that'll help you get there quicker, why reinvent the wheel? Competition. I'll just give you what I call Waxman's #1 rule. Know your competition better than yourself. If you're in the lighting business, who are your competitors? What are they doing? What is their pricing? What kinds of sales do they have? What's their marketing strategy? Can you find out about, who we are if you go to their website? What's their reputation? Business model efficiency? And where are they lacking in the market? What do you do that makes you unique? Why should I do business with you as opposed to somebody who's been in business 20 years? Right? You better be able to answer that. Whether I'm a businessman and you're doing business with me, or I'm an individual. And I don't care what you're selling and marketing. You better be able to separate yourself from everybody else, because if you can't, you're an also-ran. And roughly, Bear, help me out on this, is it 40% of startup businesses fail within the first 3 years?
At least.
And do you folks know why, mostly, they fail? Everybody will say money, that's partly. They failed to plan. As Mark said, they're going day by day. They have no idea of what it is to run a business. Anybody here think that owning a business, you only work 40 hours a week? Because if you do, you're foolish. How many people here think that if you're in business for yourself, you have no bosses? Try your spouse if you're married. They better be behind you. What about our friendly governor? You gotta pay taxes. IRS, Social Security, help, rent, light, heat. You got a lot of bosses. So, again, you better know who your bosses are, and more importantly, when it comes to competition, you gotta know your competition better than you know yourself. Descriptions should include what's your special benefit? Your special benefit, selling, getting involved in sports, products. Maybe it just might be money, that it's less money to go through you than it is to go out and rent a bike from a mountain bike company in Utah. What's your unique features? You can pre-book, you can have it waiting at your hotel, I don't know. Your limits and liabilities. Do you need special insurance for what you're doing? You're going to be in the chemical business. Obviously, there's special insurance. If you're going to be producing and delivering, what's involved? Your suppliers. Are they going to give you terms? Or if you're a startup, do you have to pay COD? And this one I like best, intellectual property special permits. A lot of people think it's tough to get. Sometimes it's not as tough as you think, if you've done your homework up front. And what is your unique selling proposition? Excuse me. And how are buyers gonna find you? Barry will touch on that. You have a website, big deal. How are people gonna find you? If I type in a keyword, you might be on page 12, 15, 20. Do you really think I'm gonna go down that far if I'm looking for lighting? So how do we drive people to get you? How do you get yourself on the first or second page, worst case scenario, second page, when you do a Google or whatever search you're doing? All right? Do you need a sales force? And by the way, everybody in here who's in business for themselves better be a salesperson. And talk up your business every chance you get. How do your competitors do business, and what can you learn from them? Again, with the internet and research, there's tons of information available. Now, comparison selection. This goes back to what Mark said earlier. What product or what do you solve? What problem do you solve for your clients or potential clients? Are you more profitable? Consider cost of price. By the way, profit is not a bad word in business. Profit is a good word. And if you grow into business, other than to make money, that's very nice, but your number one objective should be to make money. Yes?
You know, sometimes people have passion for things and they do it as hobbies for many, many, many years. But they really don't realize, and you're bringing home some very good points, what it takes to now do that, to generate a profit, to be able to pay the bills, and not, especially if you're at a point where you're considering, you know, I'm going to be working less and I want to spend more time doing this, or within 2 or 3 years I want to do this full time. And what it really takes to take that step requires every bit of what you're saying. And it requires people who have expertise in those areas to help you many, many times during the year.
You're absolutely correct. We, in our basic business seminar, we have a couple slides on self-assessment. Is being in business right for you? Is being an entrepreneur the correct thing? And we go through the skill sets, general skill sets. We're not talking where you need an MBA, and we're not talking where you need to be a bookkeeper. We're talking your general skill sets. Do you have what it takes inside? Are you a problem solver? Are you a self-starter? If you're going to be working from the house, are you going to get up in the morning and stay in your pajamas? Are you going to be, if you have young children, what are you going to do with the young children when you're supposed to be working? You're having a business to run. Is your spouse behind you? Financially, what's involved? So you have to do a personal assessment, and we compare this to the heads of major companies. And entrepreneurs and the heads of major companies, or any size, good-sized company, have a lot of the same personal factors. So, yeah, I agree. You really got to do a self-assessment if you're going to go in business. Is it right for you?
Oops. Restart later.
Yeah. All right, the message has to be concise about your products and services. You fulfill a customer's needs. You offer quality, price, availability, dependability. You clearly identify unique key features. And you can be consistently communicated in all marketing material and media. And if you do have existing clients, if you are in business and you have clients, what are you doing on a regular basis to capture the client base you have? Because these people bought from you. What are you doing to continue the buying cycle? Are you offering something special? I mean, coming up with something for your existing clients to keep your name in front of them. And I'm not talking about a daily, I get daily emails from Joseph Banks, all right, for buying clothes. I mean, there's not a day goes by I don't get a Joseph Banks email. I mean, it's to the point where I laugh. I just immediately delete it. But the guy who remodeled my kitchen, after he did that, he never got back. And I just did another remodeling job on some bathrooms, and I did another job on some exterior sliding doors that had to be done. Now, did he miss the boat? Sure. If he had somehow said, I do these other things, he might have got another $30,000, $40,000 in business over these other projects. So if you have clients, figure out a way to stay in touch with them. Now, here happens to be a unique selling proposition. Ann's Nursery, that's the definition of the business, offers discerning growers and gardeners, target customers, high-quality ornamental trees, shrubs, and vines. Those are the products. Backed by a well-known horticulturalist, Dr. Ann Murphy, a one-year money-back guarantee to grow and extended plant care guidelines, unique features. This is an elevator speech, or as I also call it, a cocktail speech. You're at a cocktail party, new bunch of people, comes up, so what do you do? Perfect time to do your little thing, but if you want to be funny, just say you sell life insurance, you'll clear the room. All right, the marketing message. Ann's Nursery offers the discerning grower and gardeners high-quality ornamental trees, shrubs, and vines backed by well-known horticulturalists. Again, it's a consistent message that you have. And on that note, I just want to read you something. I'm going to read you the SCORE message. SCORE provides professional guidance and information accessible to all to maximize the success of America's existing and emerging small business. That's our elevator spiel, our cocktail spiel. So it's important because you end up using the same talk over and over. Now here's a local example of a value proposition. And Ted, this is the one that we thought about since you just happened. It's our 16-acre garden center located in Connecticut. And this is real, by the way. This one is not made up. It's home to everything from unusual specimens to hardy native plants. W's, that's not their name, landscape designers will create a plan for you that is both stunning and functional no matter what the size of your yard or budget. Our irrigation and lighting specialists can create systems that are both low maintenance and inspiringly beautiful. Or let W install a privacy fence to create an intimate space for you and your family. Already have a great landscape? Let W Landscape Maintenance take care of every aspect of your exterior and superior knowledge and expertise. W is the all-inclusive provider for all your outdoor needs. Think of the funnel that Mark came up with earlier. And the colored is your product source, moving across. And you're getting this out in a concise message to your marketing potential clients or customers.
Perfect. I just wanted to go ahead and stage up. The point which Joe just said, Ted, for you, in my opinion, he could have been just a landscape operation. Instead, he saw, I'm going to do the following, broadened it, right? And look at all the pieces. Not only design, having bushes and specimens, doing lighting, irrigation, maintenance, fences. It was mind-boggling. This company actually exists. And if I go back to the two of you, similar. As Joe said, the funnel. What is it we're doing here? And if you had asked this individual before, this is Barry. If you had asked that individual before, I'm sure he would have said we're selling bushes or plants or flowers. And as he grew his product offering. That isn't the way to do it. We should have. What if he only had 2 acres of land? he was lucky he had 16. If you have a vision, establish the vision and then implement it over time. Great chart, Joe.
Now that I know my message, what's the best way to do it? Where am I likely to find my best prospects? Oh, that's you?
Yes.
You guys are a tough act to follow, that's all I can say. I gotta take a quick.
Do you have a question?
No, I was just gonna make a comment that, well, I just got an email from a guy tonight. It's, we're in the process, we met a landscaper, and he wasn't doing any lighting. He's up in Massachusetts, and he wanted to put a couple $100,000 onto his income. He wanted to, we'd like to make more money here. We got a business going, everything's going well, but we need to make more income. Well, the lighting is the avenue he is starting to choose. We've been working with him since April of this year, but he's seen a lot of success in doing it because he deals with very high end. He does landscape maintenance for very high end. I love them, the 1%ers. Actually, we call them the half percenters now. But it's exactly what you're saying. Is a lot of times you can go to a business. All businesses are looking to make money somehow, and it's a great avenue to go to them and actually build your business. You always want to go to, well, who's buying this stuff already? But this guy, he said, I want to make more money. We came to him and said, this is a way you can make more money. You've already got the customer base to do it. All you're going to do is add our product or your product in this case,
But I'm challenging you to think a little bit broader yourself, that you're like an architect in your own right. You can help design and you're implementing. And if you focus on just one piece of it, and it's lighting, instead of it being outdoor, it could be some indoor expertise as well. I have personal experience with trying to do architecture design for lighting in kitchen, right? You've got kitchen cabinet people who know that stuff, but not the lighting part. And you have lighting experts as electricians, but they're the doers. You don't have anyone who could do both. I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm just saying that as business grows, you need to think broader than
we looked at that
yourself.
with our part with ours. Lighting is so diverse now, you really sometimes have to kind of go back to your core business, what were you really designed, because
That's right.
we get pulled in all directions now.
Yeah.
Of, maybe we should do park benches because they're on a lot of landscape projects. They sell those $1,000 or $2,000 benches and stuff, and we constantly start to shy away from doing stuff because our core concept or our core product really does going to generate 90% of our business. So it's the 80-20 rule again.
Well, let's continue that separately, because the park bench people, they could be collaborators of yours, key stakeholders, so that you weren't doing it, but you were passing business to them and getting revenue as a result. Go ahead, Barry.
Oh, is it my turn? Hi,
You
my
have
name is
just 30 seconds left.
My name is Barry Pilvor, and I'm happy to share some stuff with you. And as I do that, we'll back up. Okay. What's the best way to deliver your message? And again, it all depends on depends on who your customer is and what you'll be selling. Where am I likely to find the best prospects? What are my customers' interests? What's my competition doing? Now, everybody goes about this in different ways. A lot of it's on the internet. I remember in sales years ago, we used to call the competition and ask them, pretend we were somebody else and see if they would give us a price. We've even done that online sometimes, where you can actually get pricing from someone else and see how competitive they are, and to find out what they're actually offering that you can offer at either a better price or give them a unique proposal based on stuff that you can offer that they can't. There's a lot of tools out there right now. One of the things that everybody seems to want is a website. And to go back to what Joe originally was talking about, it's great, you should have a website, but there's no guarantee that that's going to get you a lot of business. So part of what we talk about is sitting down and doing a strategy for social media, which drives business to your website. And we can talk more about it, but I can tell you that it's not just a 5-minute operation. It's very involved, and there needs to be a strategy, and that strategy needs to be taken 6 months, a year at a time. We can talk further if we have some time.
Email marketing is, I'm just going to say the basics. Are you getting email addresses from everybody you talk to? Are you asking for those email addresses? There's 3 different ways to get them. You can purchase them, which means that you actually offer somebody a discount if they give you an email address. Those people that you already have as clients, they should also be on your email list. And for those people that want to really gain customers that are interested in doing things locally and getting involved with local operations organizations where you can earn a person's email by asking them if they'd like to join your group or whatever it is. So it's very important when you're starting your business just to be in the back of your mind thinking, how am I going to get email addresses? Because that's part of what you're going to be doing later on. Everybody's familiar with Facebook. There's Facebook marketing, LinkedIn. Again, professional people, it's a marketing tool if you use it. YouTube, Pinterest, Twitter, blogging is another way to do it. It was mentioned before. Again, I'm going to go back to what I originally said was there's got to be time enough in the day to do all this. And if you're not willing to do it, then you need to have a team involved or someone else that was willing to help you. So we can talk further about that, but understand that having just the website is not necessarily the only way you're going to, it doesn't mean you're going to have any business. It just means that you've got a website, people like to see it, but it's not driving traffic. Search engine optimization obviously is something that we talk a lot about. It should be done. Usually your internet provider can do something for you, but you need to have somebody that's available that you can call on that can do these kinds of things, if you can. Oop, boy, I got fast fingers today. Okay. Tech marketing isn't magic. You can't fix a bad product, obviously. It can't make you an overnight success. Nothing is free. You invest a lot of time. But it's quickly hurts you with the negative feedback. We had a client who had a problem supplying product. Only sells on the internet. Guess what? She's out of business because she could not provide those products. She had to shut down the website. Will that be a problem in the future? It could be, because really, everybody sees you as who you are on your website. And if that website's down for any reason, or you can't produce the products that you say you can, you could be in some serious trouble. You've got to have a website. We know that. There's some simple ways to do websites. Some people do it themselves. It's great. The only thing you need to understand is why do you have that website? Are you selling online? Are you going to try to make it an e-commerce site? Are you directing people to another site? Are you linking that site to other people's sites? There's a lot of things involved with having a website. And especially if you're trying to do e-commerce, it is not an easy proposition. So be aware of that. And again, you hear people who are selling, the services of creating a website for you, but if you don't know what to ask, sometimes you don't get what you really need. So it's important to really understand what you're trying to accomplish with this website. Online sales add a lot of complexity, but can pay off. But you need to know that that's what you're going to do before you design that website. Just not put it up and hope that you're going to sell something off it. And you also have to track it. You have to track everything that you do on that website. It's not like you put it up there. It's called conversion. If you're not getting the conversion, if people are hitting the site and they're not going on to where they can actually buy something, then you're doing something wrong. So that has to be tracked every day. Okay, and we talked about search engine optimization. I mean, we do this anyways and try to get the right words in your site. It's not the only thing you need to do. You've got to be doing the other stuff as well. But you also have to understand that you can't have a stagnant site. You have to be changing it all the time, making people aware of it, driving business to it, having it reviewed. There's a lot of issues when you start building websites. There's something called Google ads, where you can actually advertise. You need to understand it. You don't necessarily have to do it, but you need to understand. And actually, once you understand it, you can actually go off and do some searches and see if there's anyone advertising in your space. And if there's not, then maybe that's a good area for you to invest. And it can be inexpensive. When I say inexpensive, it can be $100 a month, it can be $2,000 a month. But if you do it, you better be tracking it, and you better make sure that there's a conversion for each dollar you spend, or you should be doing something else. Because your advertising dollars are limited. If you're spending it on social media, you're spending it on newsprint, you're spending it on whatever. You only have so much, so you've got to get the most efficiency with what you're spending. We did have a client, did you want to do this?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you do it.
Oh, you want me to do it? Okay.
You can mention a name. Mention a name.
We do have an online client that sells only online. And she came in, she built her own site. Great gal, dynamite in terms of personality, but she was afraid of spending a lot of money. One of the things that she came to us for was, she'd done all this on her own. What's the next step? She was getting a lot of traffic, she was getting some business. What we suggested was to do AdWords, basically, and start advertising online. And it allowed her site traffic to jump, as you can see here, from maybe around 300 up to, almost 900, with sales projected at almost $450,000 for 2013. And that's basically because she had the website, but she wasn't driving enough traffic to it. She was finding people, and this is international, by the way. This isn't just the US. So there was a reason that she obviously had a good product. What she needed to do was get the word out, and by advertising online, she was able to do that. You want to add
Just
to that?
go through the very last additional product that came in.
Another slide?
No, the one on the right.
Oh, okay. So she hired.
Contact lenses. So this started off to be just
Okay, go
eyeglasses.
You tell us.
Back to lighting, and back to the two of you. That once the environment was there and she had people coming in, the question was, what more can I sell to those same consumers? And the more that the product line expanded, the higher the sales were, and the investment was nothing. We talk about your cleaning products, for example. As long as you're not the one manufacturing them and you're filling orders, then it's basically inventory, and it's trying to drive traffic, as Barry said, to your website, and then once they're there, giving them a compelling reason to buy.
And this gal is constantly monitoring what kind of hits she gets, what the clicks are, what works, what doesn't work, and she's constantly changing things, as we talked about, in the cycle that makes things more profitable for her.
Okay, thanks. So the couple of messages to take out of this. Using the example of a therapist, what did we learn about that therapist, the massage therapist, please?
Saturated market.
Well, what did the lesson? What's the lesson learned?
She put that in the investment and the certification before she found
Before
out.
she left.
Right. What should she have done?
Do your market research first.
Yeah, exactly. And in the case of a table planner, and I'm sorry, I don't know what to call
No,
it,
that's
but
okay.
but no, there is a demand there.
Yeah.
But I think the key is figuring out what it is.
Yeah,
And
precise.
it is no money at all. It's coffee or over dinner with gathering 3 of your friends from West Hartford, Avon, Simsbury, and just saying, what are your problems when it comes to putting a dinner party together? How could I help you?
Which is
That
kind
to
of,
me
I've already
is-
gone through all that. In a
Right.
sense. Kind of, I've been driven by them to do this.
Right. That's number 1. Number 2, lesson learned is that use the architect as an example who focuses on residential architect work. And she's got a great reputation. She has never tried the commercialization, the commercial sector. And with a direct marketing campaign that is Barry just defined to that sector, her business tripled in a quarter. It was targeted marketing. It was taking advantage of email addresses that she had from her existing customers, referrals, and saying, I now am certified to do the following. The IT professional making $120,000 at a local insurance company who says, I've had it with corporate work, I want to have my own company. And he's really good at what he does. He came to Joe and I with this dream of setting up his own company. And we said to him, okay, what are the services you will be offering? We already know IT is the broad umbrella, but let's talk services. And when we looked at them, the average per hour cost of what he's doing per competition, how much would you think it would be? Remove virus, install software, set up local area networks. How much per hour would somebody charge if they came to your house?
Probably $30 to $50.
That's
an hour.
right. He would have had to work, instead of 40 hours, he would have had to work 120 hours a week to break even. And so...
And have that many clients
Huh?
to generate.
To generate
120
that, that's
hours.
right. So if I'm you, for example, and I'm thinking that I have a day job making $50,000 a year, and I need to pay the bills and make $50,000 going forward, part of your business plan doesn't have to be like this, but it has to be, how many people do I need, with how many hours, at what rate, to break even? And that's kind of basic thinking. It's one of the things that we encourage all startups to do, especially those with day jobs. Those that don't have day jobs and are just needing to start up again with some skill set that they already have, then as long as you're dealing with low investment and it's only sweat equity, then it's not as important. Someone who gives up a day job to put into their passion, that's not going to give them a return on investment. I had one more business case I think I wanted to touch on. Oops. Are any of you as poor with mouses as I am? I'd prefer to have a real mouse. I feel like a spaz. Ted, have a $10 million company we deal with an unbelievably profitable business model. He buys product and he resells it. He takes advantage of being minority-owned company, corporations needing to buy a certain percentage of their purchasing through minority companies. And he's made $10 million from one day to the next in sales. What's his skill set? He can identify manufacturers of particular products. He's got great relationships with companies. What do you think his biggest problem is going forward? Can anybody, from what I've described, you should have that answer, right? He's a one-person show. He relies 100% on his networking abilities, his ability to buy and sell. What happens if he's not there? The business is gone. What's his exit strategy? What is he selling? Somebody comes in and buys his company. What's the value of that company? It's him. And so the key is everyone should have an idea of what my exit strategy is. How am I going to make money in retirement? Am I going to walk away? Am I going to give it to my children? It's really important. And the online retailer that Barry and I work with, an amazing woman who was selling a cause, not product. And she was bringing literally hundreds and thousands of people to her website because they loved her blog, loved her cause, but the product that they would be buying was not compelling enough for them to spend money. And so we want you to go back and remember, it has to be consumer driven, solving a problem that a consumer has today, and that it's got to be substantial, unique sales proposition. So those are our summary points. I'd like to open it up, just 5 minutes of questions. Anybody have any questions or any overall points they'd like to make? Did you get out of this, Ted, what you hoped to?
Yeah, I think it's great. Always, you mentioned right at the beginning that the business plan is a live document, and that's one thing that, to be honest with you, my business plan went into a drawer for probably 9 months and never looked at it, and it's surprising how fast your business changes, especially when it's new. In the first 3 months, 6 months, and I found how different year one was from year two, and that can be positive in some areas, and it can also be negative in others. It's not those growth curves are great to see, but life sometimes isn't always up in every area. So you have to learn, as you talked about, diversify in order to, because you got to find it. If it's not coming in from over here, you got to find another way to get it. And
absolutely right.
But yeah, I got a lot out of it, because it's always good to talk to other people that are in the same class. The problem with me, or I shouldn't say problem, part of my thing is I work by myself.
Right.
And
you're like our $10 million company.
It's very difficult to.
What are you going to do with $10 million if you make that next year?
What's that? Oh, well. And it's tough to live off the internet. I mean, all the information's there, but there's still talking to people, live people is. Right. I get a lot more out of that, because I was a sales guy for 35 years prior to doing this, so still am, I guess.
We offer, Barry actually runs what's called the Basic Business Seminar. It's offered on the third Tuesday of every month at RPI in Hartford, 275 Windsor. You go to score.org, greaterhartfordscore.org. You'll find a link to the Basic Business Seminar. It's $35, and it starts at 9, ends about 3. Joe actually does an excellent review, much more detail on unique sales proposition and business planning, but we have an accountant come in, a lawyer, a banker, funder, agency, someone with tax knowledge, and for someone who's thinking about setting up their own business and hasn't really thought about what does it mean, who's going to do, what do I have to do from a tax point of view, from an accounting point of view, what kind of legal structure should I have, what kind of liability do I need if I poison my client setting their table, or if I push that old lady into the bathtub by mistake, how do I protect myself? These people are dealing one-on-one with from 15 to 30 startup businesses, and it really is useful. It's one of the highest rated services that SCORE offers. Any questions? Are you glad you came? Yeah. What did you learn?
Oh, I learned a lot.
Did you learn enough that you want to start your own business, or you want to keep your day job?
By the way, if you want to keep your day job, that's a success, because you've realized you could save yourself a lot of money and aggravation and time. So that doesn't mean you failed if you decide you don't want to go in business.
Our friend, the IT person, by the way. What's the rest of that story? Who can guess the rest of that story?
He kept his job.
Huh?
He kept his job.
But what else did he do?
Asked for a raise.
What else did he do? What would you have done?
Freelance on the side.
Yes. He put a toe in the water, and he's making a lot of money on the side, and maybe one day he's building up a network. And he's not just the $25, $30 an hour guy. He's the chief information officer for small business. They come to him for everything now. And so we didn't discourage him. We just said, hey, be realistic. You're not going to make that same money. You got a mortgage to pay. And so that is a happy ending, because he's going with his passion, but he's also paying the bills. And visit us again in 2 years, and you'll see he's quit his day job and he's making a fortune in his own company.
I do want to add
Yeah.
that, a lot of people shouldn't be discouraged of not pursuing what that passion is. But you have to put in perspective of, how much time are you willing to put in over and above what you're doing right now? And I'm not just talking about working, but most women in this room know that, you spend a lot of time doing a lot of things. And then you have to say to yourself, okay, if I'm actually putting in another 4 or 5 hours every day doing something else, how do I redirect that time?
That's a really good point. I would say some of the biggest challenges come from, and Joe actually talks about this at the basic business seminar, that you've got family responsibilities. Is your wife or your husband supporting this plan? This architect I've told you about who's really successful, she's successful and he is too, but they've got 2 children and they've got food to cook, and they've got to agree who's picking up the kids and who's not, and they never anticipated it would be like that. It's happened so fast, so he's not as supportive as he could be, but she's also, her business is growing a lot faster. I think that's got to be a basic thing, that it's a team approach, even if the spouse is not actually adding value to the business.
I was just going to bring up the word discovery.
Yeah, oh, that's right. We have, that's a word which one of our partners who passed away recently after a 3-year fight cancer at a very young age. He used to talk about discovery, the term discovery. We're not here to say, here's what you should do. We're here to help you discover. Joe and I were working with a 26-year-old African-American woman who came in with a 4-year-old boy who was screaming and yelling and distracting us, and she was dressed really to the nines, really beautiful with these very, very trendy clothes, and her idea was to set up a website and sell these types of clothes on the website. And we're listening, we're thinking, God, she doesn't have a chance of this, but we helped her through the planning process. She's got a successful company today, but it was her passion, together with some advice along the way, that we helped her discover what she didn't know.
And I will tell you one thing, a quick story on this one. She did something that Mark and I and Barry, all of the mentors would say don't do. She had a terrible credit rating. She couldn't get a loan, so she started her company by borrowing against her credit card. Now, we advised her not to, but she's the boss. She did it, and she's successful. So it doesn't mean we don't have all the answers, but between all of us, that's the difference between a mentor and a consultant. We can all learn from each other.
So anybody, the Basic Business Seminar, sign up if you think you can benefit from that. If you sign up and you go to the door and you tell them you attended the Simsbury seminar that we gave, then your entrance will be free. But you have to bring cookies, like seriously.
But you have to pre-register.
Yeah, you go online, pre-register, don't pay, and then show up at the door. And the one-on-one appointments can be here or any other location that you'll find on the site, and we'd be glad to meet with you. I'd love to talk to you more about your vision, because you've got some real benefits going for you. You understand the product very well, and I think the hardest thing to do when you're selling chemical products is to be able to explain them to the consumers and buy the best to meet their demands. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.